Bro, it's been another, I think like 2 weeks. I feel like we made
We
it through
went
the,
Saturday,
okay,
not Saturday. 2 days ago, Saturday.
Sunday,
Actually,
Monday, Tuesday. That's why it's 3 days ago.
yeah.
Technically, this is day 4, so it could even feel like 4 days ago, depending on how that whole thing happens inside. It can go either way with me, what the current day counts as. Does it count as part of the 4, or is it up to? And then, what is current? Like, what's present in this whole discussion? Oh, man. Oh, dude, the whole right side of my body hurts. I spent yesterday, you know how in a lot of the states out here they'll cut out from the foundation to put in an egress window, so it's a room. So you got to put that weird little metal thing that I've never seen, but now I see them all the time. Obviously, wish I could remember what it was called, but the hole was already dug out. There was there was this concrete. It was a concrete saw for cutting into foundations.
Yep.
So this thing, I geeked out on it for a little bit. It was 2 feet in diameter, the blade itself, and he replaces them monthly. It's a $650 blade, and I was just like,
Yeah.
wow, that's crazy.
Was it a water one or was it
Oh
normal?
yeah, yeah. Dude, it had a couple of hoses.
Yeah, 100%.
This thing, as we talked, I found out the whole rig is $100,000. And I was like, man, that's got to take a couple years to pay off, thinking just New England terms. And like, but there's just so much work out here, and there's so much foundation work for whatever reason. He's like, nah, 3 to 6 months. What? $100,000 investment? He's like, because what? Like, you can't. It's not even a saw, man. They cut out a line, then they mount 4 brackets where it's going to be sawed, and then they mount the saw to said brackets to cut one line, and then once it's going, it's hydraulically being pushed in. You're basically just a machinist. You're setting up the machine, and then you're running the machine, and then you're moving the machine to the top one. Like, it's all massive, dude. It had the generator that was powering this thing was longer than the truck that was pulling it. Because I was trying to figure out, this thing was way too powerful, and I'm seeing 2 hoses and a third wire hose. Not sure, it's thick, but I'm clearly like, I know there's a water hose, and that happens to be green, and I know there's a hydraulic hose, and that happens to be orange. I can see the hydraulic, like, how all hydraulic remotes are just massive. Like they're doing some low-level hydraulics with inside that box controller. Like, it's straight out of the '80s. I feel like you could make that smaller, guys.
Well, you've got either corkscrews or pistons pushing that gooey liquid. So it's like that gooey liquid has to move.
It does.
So it's like, yeah, it takes up a lot of space.
So I watched those 2, and then I'm like, so what's powering this thing? Because it's not hydraulic powered. And like, I'm like, I can't. It's it's way too loud. It's cutting through like 6 inches of foundation, man. Like, it's just, and yeah, and then I follow out back to the truck. I see the truck, and then on the back of the truck, I see a massive. Like I said, the generator was longer than the truck pulling it. It was, and probably up to like halfway to the window, like not to the top of the truck, but it was as tall as from the ground to halfway to the window height of it. And I was just like, okay, now that makes sense. Oh, because up at that point I was a little perplexed. It's really crazy. I'm like, that's okay. That's cool. That's a business where, like, yeah, the tool is really the business, and you're just like, you need this. Like, there's no other way you're not, dude. Are you
Yeah, I
chiseling
used
this
to have
out?
one, not that size, but I used to have one. It was a handheld one, and the blade was, I think it was 16-inch blade. And it was like you had to hook a garden hose, and then, yeah, it took gas to go. And
Okay.
that thing was like crazy. It was for cutting concrete grounds,
In
like
the
to
floor,
cut down
yeah.
through the ground. And it was like, dude, that thing was sick. The same thing. You had to replace the blade like probably every 3rd or 4th project. But I mean, when I first got the thing, my first project with it, shit, I made $1,500, and all I had to do was cut this dude's driveway, like the sidewalk squares that went to his driveway, just cut those so he could remove them himself. So I made the 2 cuts, made a few extra cuts for him to make it easy for him to remove it. Dude paid me $1,500.
Yeah, dude, it is and I've seen the one you're referring to too, because Brickyard, the Templex we were working on, had to redo a lot of the plumbing in the foundation, and also we were adding a new bathroom, so we did a lot of just straight cuts. Dude, this thing was to save money because they charge extra to pull it out or to take it. Like in this case, he's just like, yeah, I'll happily come and attach my saw my saw, and then leave. So there's still like a full 36-inch window of concrete just sitting there that, guess what, we got to get out. So push it. And it's this thick, which means we're pushing concrete at least that far. And because it's so far out and there's, the house, you can't tip it. It's too tight. It's too tight of a cut. So yeah, you got to get at least halfway out there. Thankfully, there was enough give to where we used that demo tool that's not coming to mind, not a chisel, but
like the crowbar type
yeah, crowbarred it inched it a little bit, but then we had a little bit of space where we could kind of rock it back and forth to kind of like more than just try to push it across it. But either way, it was that was all very interesting. But once it was cut, well, now we had to put in the little metal thing, and the metal thing was a little too wide, so we had to cut another 4 inches over, like another basically 4 square inches all the way down. That's why any amount of inches is all the way down 5 feet.
And all the way deep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. 5 feet down. And then we had to move the water pipe back, get that installed. Then once we got the water line installed around it, it's just earth, man. Guess what? It's time to move a lot of earth. And I tamped. They were surprised at how little dirt was left. I'm like, yeah, you said tamp it down. I'm like, I know how earth settles. I know a surprisingly large amount about it for not being a civics engineer. But displacement, I find displacement incredibly interesting. What do you know? What do you rom-com? That's what you're into? Soil displacement, bro. Straight nerd. But dude, I'm beat. The whole right side of my body, from shoveling to tamping. They didn't have anything to tamp with, so I was using a metal rake, which is what they were probably most impressed with. Dude, all the random little small like trades I've done, I've never been complimented more than for my ability to move and stop on dirt. It was almost insulting. It was kind of hard. I'm like, I super appreciate the compliments. It kind of sucks that the first time I've gotten this much of a shower is because I could shovel dirt from left to right, real good.
He found you calling.
Yeah, I can move. I could move earth. Dude, there was a couple, because I was like, this was 8 hours. It was long. It's all I did for. I think I was. I didn't ask for help. I didn't bitch. I actually got annoyed when people were bothering me because I wasn't. Dude, I was in hyper focus. I was willing to ignore everything, but if I'm stopping, I don't see myself doing this. I don't see myself getting back into this. Okay, no, it's not interesting. No, it's not fun. It has to be done, and I seem to be doing it. And so I just won't stop that activity. It's an attention deficit. I wish people could realize it's not just the ability to not focus; it's the ability to not unfocus. But yeah. So my whole right side's just like shot, and because of the tamping of the rake mainly, I got a couple of weird blisters and sores, and it actually really hurts when I mess up my hands because showers are no longer relieving. Yeah, I can't have a hot coffee. Like my hands, they're very. I'm so soft, bro. They're crucial to my, because last night I was just covered in dirt, and so tired. It was an hour drive home, and I was just like, I took a shower. And it just hurt to wash, and I had enough dirt on me to know I was dirty. But dude, it takes a lot of it has to be wet. I don't have dry particle issues. It just kind of gets forgotten about. I'm oily. The dirt doesn't feel oily, but if it's not wet, I'm good. But I'm trying to realize, you can't just go to bed covered in sawdust and cement. I don't know if you heard what I was doing all day. I should probably take a shower.
Yeah, cement dust's not good. Sawdust,
Yeah, a little better. Yeah, I'm trying to tell Caitlin, baby, stop trying to wash these pants. You're going to ruin whatever washer they're getting used.
Yeah. You know what concrete does when it gets water?
Yeah, concrete. Yeah,
fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's like this guy rebar. It'll just do it again. So. Yeah, man, that was the last 2 days, but it allowed. I had to talk with Sean again, and I wanted to. Again, I've got to get debits for all the credits I'm putting in, especially because I don't want to pull the savings account, man. I want to. I banked 3,100 with him and got 1,000. So I'm like, sweet, that's a month. That's 30 days. I don't even have to think about it. Caitlin has it too, so I'm like. It still leaves 2,100. So I mean, that's the next 2 months. Is what this puts us into August. What, we're in September? We're in August. We're finishing August. We'll be going into September. So that 1,000, it's this 500. It's twice a week. So because it's coming out a weird way. August ends up starting the month even. guess I didn't really. Yeah, so it ends up being all of September. That means October, November's covered. If nothing happens at all, and we're still kind of just treading water, because I have to assume that that's possible. It's happened so often in the past. The pattern seems like it's a possibility still. I'll still have enough to cover December without having to think about anything. So that's good. Like, I like that. And I'll still probably end up banking until these 2 projects of his are done. I'll probably still end up banking some additional hours. I don't not see that happening. So that's how I see it. Yeah, it is a good thing, because it's one less thing to think about. But I get nothing done. I'm always beat. It's hard to get up in the morning. So like the trade-off isn't worth it. But as a battery, it is.
Yeah, I went to bed early last night so I could get up early and make sure that everything worked out like it was supposed to.
Yeah.
That ended up turning out good.
Way to be responsible, bro. Good job.
Yeah, like I said, fuck that yesterday. Man, yesterday was one of those hilarious ones. I say hilarious. It just made it shitty, but
Dude, I didn't know what to think of it. Because the day before, I thought you bought those stocks to hold on. I thought you bought Apple the day before in the morning to hold on long, and I was just like, okay, we won't sell the $100 profit all day. That's clearly there, because I guess.
Dude, it shot up. We were like 160 in the green immediately, and that's where my computer locked up. So I dropped the sale in, and it's like all of a sudden the computer unfreezes. Dude, we're like 244 down, and then my fucking sell order goes in like so far above where it was. I'm like, oh hell no! So I'm like, I closed that out and just waited through the day, because it's like all of the volume and indicators and everything showed it should have been about 505. Like that's where it should have been sitting based on what was happening, that nothing bad had happened. They had actually put out more good news, like just everything had lined up that things should go good. And then it dropped down there and held. And I was like, there's no fucking way this isn't going to like readjust overnight. Because it seems like most of the time the readjustments happen overnight. So I was like, all right, fuck it. I went to go buy in at 100. I was like thinking about it. I was like, damn, man, all that's got to do is drop down to the like 490 mark, and that's going to put our fucking account at non-tradable. So I'm like, all right, I can't do that. Because right now, with where it should.
I'm happy you appreciate that more than anything else. We keep going up, so I'm not shitting on that. We're above 5, but like no one trade can put us in that position.
No, I can't. Exactly. So yeah, no, exactly. So it's like I cut it back
zeroed
down.
out 3 months of work. I'm good. Thanks, bro.
So I freaking dropped it down to 25 shares, and you can't set a stop limit order on the overnight, so you can't set the safety net. That's what gets sketchy about it. So what I did is I just mathed it out. Okay, if it dropped the 400 shares or 400 pips, down to that next mark and held there for some reason, even that at 25 shares would be $100 ding. And I was like, but again, I'm expecting this bitch to hit 505, maybe 07 overnight. So that's where I set it at. I was like, okay, the lowest it's going to hit is like roughly 503.50. So I set the sell at 503.50. Dude, it was like perfectly, it just barely crept over. It hit like 503.64, just barely over what I set it for, and then dropped again. So we caught it, got the 400 and freaking like 15 pips overnight on it, but 25 share size. So it worked out to be like $107. And then the other one went south at first, and it's funny, and the indicators all flipped that it was going to continue going south. So I was like, all right, fuck it, we're going to sell out, take the I think like $17 or $22 loss. Dropped it dropped down another like 15-20 cents, hit the like $2 point, and then spun around. So I'm like, all right, fuck it, grabbed it on the spin around, recouped a chunk of the loss. I think I brought the loss down to like $7 because I caught back like 10 or 14 of it. And then had another one then rocket off while I was paying attention to it. And then because I was trying to manipulate or work with Dick's Sporting Goods. Like I said, you saw it too. That shit's going crazy. But, all it takes is, because that's the cool thing about there being no limit. Like if a stock is in uncharted territory, there's no hard stops. But what that also means is at any given point, that became a hard stop just out of nowhere, and then it turns around. So it's like, you don't know where the top is. And it was already, a good chunk over, where it was before. So I was like, shit. So it's like I jumped in when it settled down a little bit. It seemed to be having a lull, but when I say a lull, it just wasn't going insane, but it was still kind of going on up. I jumped in. Of course, what I thought could potentially happen, it seemed to spin around. All the indicators went south and everything. So I sold out, took I think like a $17 loss on that one. And was like, all right, you fucker. So went over, saw another one, rode that up like $75, and then went back over to Dick's Sporting Goods. It was still in that lull, but all the indicators had turned around, so jumped on it. I think I went up like $7-8 on that one, so bought down the loss on that one. And yeah, I think we're roughly 140 up right now, 150, something like that, after giving back that sum to Dick's. And
The random gave back dropped us down to like 130, but we're at like 613 total. So to me, it's all gravy.
yeah, that was, like I said yesterday, that was some bullshit when taking that $40 loss when I, for that split second knew we were up where I was, what I was expecting to see. I was going to close out anything over $100. And it was like, I saw it, like, it was like, it's funny too. I can hear the computer. That's the first thing. All of a sudden my computer goes into like overdrive. It's like, and it's like, oh shit. Like, here it goes, like get ready for it. And it's like, it went pink. And it's like, I watch it jump up and it's like, we were up $12. Then we're up $100. And it's like, I tried to set in the thing and it's like some about the price not being something. I'm like, fuck. So then it's like, I'm trying to click it and then all of a sudden it's up 160. Well, now it's so far up over my price ladder. I jumped up real quick, tried to set the sell at like roughly 125, 140, and the fucking bitch froze. And I'm like, oh, hell no. So I sat there for a minute, waiting for it to unfreeze. Nothing. Pulled it up on my phone, looked how low it had gone. At that point, just mentally, I'm calculating. We're like 200 down. I'm like, oh my God. And then the computer starts going again. And we're like, yeah, negative 244.
It's super easy to close out a position on the phone too. It's definitely worth having the app up and ready.
As I say, I don't know. It don't seem that easy.
Well, I mean, it's definitely several steps, but it seems to go through cleanly.
Well, that's the problem. You got to think the volatility that's happening. In 15 seconds, we went from 0 to 160 to negative 240. So a 400 pip swing in probably under 15 seconds.
That was Apple?
What's that?
This was Apple?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, dude, yesterday out of the gate. And what's even worse is, it's funny. It was a trade between two stocks. I was going one of two ways. It was either going, because two stocks were like ready to blow. You got Alibaba and frickin' Microsoft. Well, so many people are talking shit about Chinese stocks and, not supporting them and this and that. I'm like, okay, well, when all things are said and done and we're even, Alibaba was sitting at like 265, somewhere around there. And it would cap at probably 300. Microsoft was sitting at Apple was sitting, at just under 500, but it can go for a minute. Like, there's no cap up at this level. So, I mean, it could potentially push up to 600 people trying to get in on this split. So it's like, okay, all said and done, Baba has a potential ceiling and freaking everybody saying shit about Chinese stocks. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. We're going Apple. There we go, Apple. Fucking Alibaba shoots up $15 fucking dollars and fucking Apple takes a $5 shitter. It's like, oh my God. Fuck those Chinese pieces of shit. But
I'm just happy
we get into Alibaba shortly here too. They've got that Ant IPO that they're going to be releasing, not in our market, but just in releasing it, it's going to raise the valuation of the company. So I just got to find a good buy point on it. I'm hoping the market shakes for a minute off of some kind of news for something regarding China and then grab it and then ride that.
Wow. With Apple, if the price is going to keep rising as we get closer to the split happening, don't we want to try to capture a low price and be okay not getting any day trading profits to just have it at? Well, that's actually really hard, man, because I was looking at different prices and I realized, like, even at worst case scenario, when we bought 100 shares, it was only going to be $40 premium for those 100 shares. And I was like, it's not actually that much money when I think about it. So and now that we're buying 25 shares, I'm like, shit, what is really the difference between 500 and 495? Like, it's only, what's 25 times 5?
125.
Yeah, it's nice to save it, but Actually, that'd be
That's,
worse.
I know, that's the thing too. It's like, even when I got stuck long trading yesterday with fucking Apple, it was like, it would have been cool if I was able to, because of course too, when it shot up at the end, it got volatile, and I still couldn't close that bitch out 100 up, because I fucking saw it peak up, like it was like 80 something at the end of the day too, and I think I caught it with like a $7 win. I think is the first time I was able to catch it, like the computer didn't freeze. So it was like, yeah, I don't know. I got to get through that part. Like I said, I know one thing though that's good. It's definitely making me better and better at having to choose the right ones, because
Mhm.
it's like basically what I go through on any of them that would have shot up really well is that, I have to make the decision based on the indicators and everything, pick it, and then basically just watch what happens 5 to 10 seconds later, So normally when I got the system upgrade to where, it's fully, utilizable in all situations, it would be, I could see the fallout was happening and I could catch it and not be part of it. But, and not that that's happening that often. I'm probably picking 1 out of 5 that aren't going the direction I had figured. So, I mean, I think my pick rate's getting pretty decent. And I think part of it's just because I have to be right. If I'm wrong, we can take a critical hit, because I can't always get the safety net before the computer freezes.
Mhm.
Oh.
Very true. Is good with when I hear you say specific exit prices. I like that because it's showing that you're executing some of them. You're not picking them randomly. So and as you get a more refined target, when you hit or miss, there's more data. If you've got a blurry target and you miss it, how come? But when you have a specific target,
how to fix, scenarios and where I can and where I can't, and things like that. Like that's one thing, I learned real quick too, is when I'm playing with big boy stocks up around, anything over $250, there is no buy down to fix it. You are what you locked in at. I took the whole account and put it into one trade. So it's like, that's where we're at. There is no fixing this. You're taking that ride. So like I said yesterday, that was not an intentional long trade. That was a long trade because I think I had $1,200 left to play with on the side, and my indicators did not show any stocks of that value that were going anywhere good. So we just sat and watched all day, and that's what sucked, because even had I caught that 160 in the morning, or even if I had been able to close it down with like a $30 loss or something like that, which I probably would have caught it even earlier, whatever. But like the potential for gains yesterday, there was a lot of ones that were popping off, but I couldn't be included because I was stuck in a long trade. So that's where it's like, yeah, I can see the good of a long trade. Like once we get the account up and can pull like 5 Gs and put it to the side and just pull a long trade, but it's like to actually ding into the primary account kind of sucks. I mean, obviously my first one is going to be account locker upper, but I'm just saying it is, restricting to have long plays happening.
I found it pretty hilarious. We could I think it was Monday. It was either Monday sometime or Tuesday morning. I just know it was previous to Apple happening. I was just, man, I got this. I think, what do you call it? I think we'll be able to do a payout. We're going to crush Tuesday. I open up my phone, and the first thing I see is like, oh, and you have $250 on a $50,000 hold. Man, I wonder what he's thinking right now. Because, I mean, he was there when he said that, and he wasn't not confident about it. So that was like, for the most part, that's just, at this point, when it's those types of things, I don't actually look at the number itself. I'm just like, there's matches like, there's always a little bit of anxiety in the back. I'm like, oh, fuck, I hope this producer
dude, on Tuesday, it's like the thing you weren't watching that one. We got caught in an auto processor. Dude, that would fucking was scary. It hurt. Like, that was like, oh, like we were down $800 and something at one point. It skidded through our stop loss and just didn't go off. So I had a stop loss above what was happening and it didn't sell. So it's like at that point I closed it because I didn't want it to sell that low. And I was like, no matter what, see, that's the thing. It's like, that's where it initially hit you as scary, but it's like, okay, no matter what, I did analysis. This should be here. Something disrupted that, but that doesn't change anything as far as to where it should be. Like, okay, so a hedge fund just sold 100,000 shares, and the fucking price drops $7. Like, shit happens. Like, but now you've got, you just have to wait for it. You can't be scared and get out, because you also know there's 50 other hedge funds that were waiting for it to drop to a key price to buy back up. So that's, you know, and some of them aren't set to buy immediate, because if it's a tank, they don't want to jump on the tank. So they wait for it to tank and then hit an X price, hold X price for so long, or start bouncing off of either a certain VWAP line or a deviation line, and then their triggers kick in and bring it back. So it's like, we sat at negative $800 for probably like 45 minutes. And I was like, fuck, man, one of these got to kick in. Like, there's no way this price is going to sit this low. This bitch just got upgraded. You know, like, it was, I don't remember what the price was, but it's like reaching the $47 mark, and the bitch had just been upgraded to $70 for the day. And it opened up at like 49. And I'm like, fucking dope. This bitch is going to clip 50 and at least go up to 55, you know, maybe even 60. And hell no, that shit got right up around like 49. And then you just watch 44, 41 and a half. And I'm like, oh God. And that was 2 bars, like 2 single-minute bars dropped it that far. I was like, holy fuck. So yeah, I think everybody sat there like, oh my God, what just happened? Because nothing moved. The market sat for probably the next 2 tickers with no volume, and then started to kind of creep up, crept down for a little bit, crept up, as like, holy shit. And it kept touching, you know, a support line, and it was touching it hard, like, you know, slightly breaking it, but immediately getting pushed back. And I was like, fuck, please don't break that. Because if it breaks that, we might be fucked. And it hit it a few times, slowly rose up. I was getting ready though, because after it rose up, it went back towards it. And a lot of times that's the time it crashes through. So I had the sell ready to cap us at like, shit, it would have been like a $900 loss. Which even then I'm like getting ready to trigger it, and I'm fighting myself, because it's like, I know damn well still what I said originally. It should be at this, you know, roughly $52.50 to $55 today. Like, no matter what, it just got upgraded to 70, and it usually finds its way nowadays, like shit, under 5 days you could see the readjustment. Like, it used to take months. Like, it was a quarter to quarter. Now it's like, dude,
within a week you can watch something adjust $30. Like, it's insane. So
There's
like
never been a better time, bro.
yeah, that's what was it. So I said, rode that. It started to turn around a little bit. Once it just crept over like the next 50-cent point or something, then like a smaller hedge fund kicked in and bought like probably 20,000 shares, brought it over the $45 point. And then it's like, okay, now I know it's over the 45. It's easily going to make it back up to the 50 and might even try to push higher. So, and it ended up pushing higher. I think we closed that one out like 117 up. But yeah, that was a hell of a ride to be 117 up.
Yeah.
That's the other part, that now that I'm getting more involved in the market and seeing occasionally, you know, first off is I'm hoping to see those, you know, before I bought in, obviously, so I can fucking buy into that. But then the flip to it too is not, you know, knowing the difference between the market changing and a hedge fund executing. You know, like before I probably would have sold out, you know, like I'm not gonna lie, when that shit started tanking that hard, that's scary. Like, fuck, how the fuck is this going so hard down when the upwards volatility and momentum was just, you know, crested the 70% line on my fucking indicator. Like, that's crazy.
It seems like that's where you have to trust your technical analysis, because that's the
your
smart
initial,
thing.
yeah, your initial.
Yeah, but
the scales get wonky for a few minutes. Obviously, it just dropped a bunch. But yes, you know, you knew what was going to happen before, but something changed. Not that you can disregard and know that it might only make it to like 80% of where it started. But no damn well, don't sell out at the bottom or anywhere near it, because there's no why would it sit there? You know, now you have a bunch of people seeing opportunities. So, you know, that's where, yeah, getting that part. So it's like, yes, initially it hits you like, oh, fuck. But then as soon as you see what's really happening, okay, this isn't the market changed and people saw a bad news story and now everybody's selling. It's just, you know, one of those things happen. So you have no control over.
I'm definitely happy. I always have a low level of concern. I'm like, when it's a hard loss, it's live, so you're definitely feeling it. It's all physical stimuli, so I know how potent they can be. It can be as potent as oil on your skin. We're coming from a different neuron system now, but I also know your subconscious is fully aware that if it was zero, there would be no residue. Your hands would be clean, and there's always that battle of, well, that's shit. Is he gonna tap out because he knows he'll have no problem? Dude, you could lose $1 million tomorrow, and guess what? Okay, but while losing $15, you're dying of an anxiety attack. Like, so, like, I don't not appreciate that. It's took me a while to figure out how to fully like draw that picture. But there, that you do have that yin yang tug of war happening between the, and it's all subconscious. Like who's, so I'm like, technical analysis, please went over. You don't need to lock in the floss.
Exactly. Like, and that's it too. It's like, okay, so with that technical analysis, and if you know something falls out, it's probably going to come back roughly 75 to 80%. So that's where you're trying
At
to
least
do
one
the
standard
buy down.
deviation, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's where you're trying to do the buy down at near its lowest point, because then that's going to reduce you 50% of that gap. So even if it only makes it to 70%, you can sell out at that. So that's kind of the purpose behind it. And initially where I was fucking up is I wasn't getting my buy down at the lowest points. So it would tank, let's say, you know, what seemed to be 100%, but I should have been more aware of where real hard lines are, because it would hit that, hold resistance for a minute or support. And I would be like, okay, this is the bottom. And I'd buy in, drop us, you know, that amount, but then it would tank farther. So now we're double bought in at a higher amount. So even now, if I wanted to buy in a third time, I basically have to match that share size. So I have to buy in 200 more shares to reduce what's above to bring that lower. So it's like, that's where I was fucking up. And I would have to buy down like 2 and 3 times to fix it, basically, so that when it jumped back up, I would catch it and get out of it. But now it's like I'm getting better at seeing where true hard lines are, and, you know, what really counts for previous support and resistance as opposed to, you know, what doesn't seem to, and things like that. So now it's like, not that, you know, like I said, probably 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 I pick goes the wrong way in the initial, but seeing, yeah, do I need to buy down? Am I just selling out? Is just a quick drop of the market? You know, things like that.
Now that you're seeing those, is that allowing or causing, I don't know which word is best, is that giving the possibility of now, like, oh, I'm going to hold this for 3 to 4 minutes, realizing that, I don't know, is it changing your hold times? Oh, say that one more time.
I said, if anything, it's making him want to just push up share size.
How come?
4 out of 5, I think, roughly, even 3 out of 4 is going the way it should to basically to the mark, like where I'm expecting it to crest or peak to is roughly where it's peaking to. If it does have some level of drop, I have learned, you know, pretty quick when I see this or that or whatever, okay, expect a 10 to 12 cent drop. It's got to find a better resistance to bounce, things like that. So it's like, I've gotten more confident in my entries. My exits aren't the best, but my entries, I've gotten a lot, you know, more confident on with those. So it's like,
which is important because we can minimize our gains if we can really minimize our losses. Like, I'm okay if we sell at 5 to 7 pips each time, as long as it is like a 4 out of 5 hit rate, or, you know.
Well, because how everything went the first time, taking those couple big hits, of course, it made me learn defense before offense. So it's like, I have good exit strategies on losses. I have good entry strategies. I am working on my exit strategies with wins, because some of them I've expected to shoot up, let's say, 30, 40 cents or 70, 80 cents if I think it can span the whole dollar mark, or if it's going to just hit the 50-cent mark and resist. So it's like I've learned to pick those up and be able to call them pretty good. But there is, I would say, at least a third of the time where I expect it to hit like the 50 mark and it makes it all the way up to the dollar. Or I expect it to make it around the dollar mark and the bitch skyrockets. But because I was expecting it to only hit that dollar mark, it might hit that ceiling and start to come down. And because that was my expectation, I'm selling out instead of giving it some room to breathe and then chasing it farther up. Because, I don't know, when when a smaller, especially a smaller, size stock or whatever, somewhere around 15 or 20 bucks, if that bitch goes up $1, that's like, holy fuck, that's a 5% increase in a single tick, of their entire share price. So that's a fucking swing. So it's like, to see that go up and then to go further is fucking crazy. So it's like, it seems crazy, but it seems crazy based on my learning, which a lot of my learning was from pre-pandemic stock market.
Yes.
Nowadays, that bitch can run $1, check itself for a second, run another $1, check itself for a second, run down 50 cents, and then check itself and then go up another $1. Like, it's just wonky. Like,
is it just me, or is one of one of the coolest things, even though I know the epidemic makes it a specific scenario, but even no matter what the current world state is, there's so many different companies on the in the marketplace. Like it doesn't really matter what the circumstance is or what the play is. There's likely at least one or two that are available, companies that fall under that criteria every day.
Yeah. I mean,
That's the most insane thing. Like,
dude, nowadays you can have, 30 to 50 good setups to play out in a day. Like a lot of these old school stock traders are like, dude, on an average week, he's like, my quota was to be into 17 successful trades in a week. So that's like 3.25 a day, 3.5 on average, good trades a day.
I think they're making that 25 grand a week.
Yeah.
But they're a bigger pool, and that's kind of we realize, like, we're just happy with that. We're happy that we have a kid pool. I'm super happy that we have a kiddie pool to splash around in, man.
Oh yeah.
No one's kicking us out. It's not fucking only 2 hours a day. We have complete freedom in this pool. It's just
that's all it is too, man. And I just keep running up with a bucket of water each day. At some point, this bitch is gonna crest.
And don't get me wrong, it feels like we've jumped into the deep end some days. Even this like, oh, you're not supposed to go nose first. Oh, I see. Feet first, not nose first.
Well, these folks want to do some hypothetical bullshit paper trading for 6 months. What the fuck are they thinking? Like, what am I going to learn there? I'm not going to lose nothing. Like, dude.
No, dude, it's actually quite annoying that you probably wouldn't build any good pattern recognition. It would 100%. Just, he's like, this is all guesses. Even if I'm right a lot, I'm still writing most of it off, which has got to be frustrating for you.
Like I should have started 10 share size, but fuck that too.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
It's not how I'm going to play. Like, that just seems silly. I wasn't going to take too bad of a critical wound, and I mean, I took 2 to figure it out. But
now that the zeroing out quickly isn't happening, I'm way happier. I know a good chunk of losses that we don't have is just being willing to ride the roller coaster through a little longer. Dude, there's been so many times where I've seen we've sold out. We bought it at like 50 cents. We end up selling it at 8 cents less. And then I literally see it being bought about 5 minutes later at 52 cents. And then for whatever reason, we got sold at 8 cents less than that. I'm like, this is not the game we're supposed to be playing, where we're selling at every loss, yet re-upping at a higher. We could have just held on to that 100 shares for like 5 more minutes.
Well, that's the weird thing. You don't always, that's a good, suggestion of is that the 50 cent a lot of times is a good support. So it's like I'll buy it, 52. And then it's like, I usually grab 52 or 53. And then set the sell for 44, because it's like sometimes it's going to make it below the 50, but if it gets below the 45, it's probably going to tank down. So it's like, sell out then. It's like it'll go down to, the 426, 27, and it makes its way right back over 450. And it's like, okay, all the indicators line up. It could ramp. I'm like, all right, buy it at my 453. And what's it do? Fall through again. So,
and the funniest part is like 30% of your profits are eaten up by those fucking onesies, twosies, like just dumb shit.
That's kind of like the game of it, where it's like your little wins and your little losses cancel each other, so that when your big wins go,
you're refining a system where you'll take
3 or 4, and then it'll shoot up to 55 cents or whatever. But it's like, I'll swing 3 or 4 times at 8 cents a clip to get that 50-cent chunk. So it's like I just chunked out 40 cents in trying.
Yes. I know. That's because of how I read it. That's the thing I can see most clearly when not watching it live. When watching it live, I get a good idea of like how it almost sucks. Like I see really big highs, and what I think is you're either hunting the next thing or something. It's going up. I'm like, oh, we could have gotten 20. It drops down. It hits the new high sell. So we made 2. Cool. Like, oh, I was at 20. Oh god. But when I see the dailies, those weird ins and outs, I'm just like, to make a system that can be systematically ran, it has to have a built-in shrink, like, because otherwise you've got to pay too much attention. So I obviously I see that happening, and that's where you're like, well, what are these stop losses? But you're now also more actively paying attention to ones that are hitting right. So it's like, oh, now you've got a couple of things going on. It's kind of crazy. It's all very interesting.
Yeah, my big next step is just trying to increase visibility over current stocks. Like, so I can't be logged into TD on this computer and my other computer at the same time.
Yeah, I can't online.
Because of that, I can't have the damn charts, TD's charts up on one computer and then be playing on the other computer. So I'm building out my not Thinkorswim, the trade TradeView. I'm going to
Okay.
set up my TradeView to have like 8 stocks visually being monitored. And then that way I can watch, for preemptive and then jump in, check the second level, and then go from there. You want to say I just got in the bathroom? Oh, yeah.
No, I appreciate you doing it every now and then. There are times where I'm like, shit, I'm always, because I'm a constant state of racism, I need to pee, but I'm worried he might want to leave, and this will be the reason, this will be the out. So I'll hold pee for a long time. And then I finally can't hold it anymore, and it's normally during, a subject will be real interesting, which triggers all the neurons, which makes me need to pee worse. But it's also at an apex where you're probably interested too. Get you at a high point, not a low point. But 5 minutes of dead silence. Do I think I need to pee? It's like, all right, I think I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Excuse me, that was loud. Dude, it's really cool. I'm super excited that you get to day trade. That seems and you seem to be also enjoying it too, which I constantly tell you, like, I want you to have positive, sensational stimuli. I think like that's what it's all about. I have a bunch of stimuli. They're rarer for you, and like and imaginating doesn't work for you. Imaginating.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way of conjugating that word. So to me, it's like cool because I assume there's a good amount of fun. It's not always fun, but I would imagine there's like a good amount of fun to it, whether it's like the learning, the thinking of systems. Like there's so many meta aspects to it other than the actual trading that, like for me, would seem very fun. I don't trust myself.
Well, it's like it's straight up all the things that I would normally want to geek out on something to end with the thing I'd want to do, it to end up. I mean, all the geeking out on shit with different projects or different, jobs or whatever before was for the purpose of, obviously being more profitable, making, more money and making things easier. Well, build these indicators, fucking, like I said, those are fucking gangster how I set those up. I'm not sure if you looked at those at all, but
like I could even understand them, bro. I would need a tutorial video, right? If we record a walkthrough, I would love it. Otherwise, I'm just looking at a bunch of Chinese like, oh, this is impressive looking.
But yeah, after I built those, it gives a very clear indication of which ones are likely going to be going up. The scanners that I've got going also bring up the ones, obviously the base ones they have in there are pretty good because, you're working off of volatility. And if everybody sees it's on a gap scanner, there's some volatility for you. But it's like I've got a couple of them that I programmed to find like hidden winners. One that I built that I'm going to at some point start implementing longer term trades, maybe even if just 10 share size or something to not mess with the account, but based on what the scanner is pulling and see if it's pulling accurate. Because historically it seems to be showing that it would have, but like I said, it's not proven. So it's hypothetical at that point basically, but I want to try that.
For long-term trades, it does like a lot more agree that doing historical data for long-term is very accurate. Like most, like a lot of people. And so like, I would trust, like if you do historical plays and you're like, it looks like it, I would trust that that's probably 80% accurate.
The only thing that it seems to be visually with it, and this is the part I'd have to run tried and true, is because it will indicate, when a stock fits the criteria, will indicate, or pull them on the scanner, but they don't seem to go away for quite a whiles after, like the criteria is unmet. So unless you saw it just pop up, there's a good chance you're looking at one that's probably past a good buy-in point. That seemed to be what I was seeing on there because there was, yeah.
It really seems like all long-term. Sorry, go on.
What's that?
It really seems like all long-term holds are really more about finding companies and researching them rather than scanning for them, based on what you're saying.
Kind of, yeah. Well, it's like basically you're looking, yeah. I mean, you would use this to find a couple good candidates and then probably want to do some like digging because it's like it shows you ones that are like 2 or more deviations off of the VWAP and in the negative, so they've gone way under market. So then it's just exploring why, are they failing? Well, then you don't want to buy into that. But if there's just something anomaly in the market, they are a real estate agent and realtors are reporting not doing good, so they went down. when it had nothing to do with them, things like that. Those are good ones to watch for. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Oh, yeah, yeah, it's still obviously good for building a list. No question there. How's Robinhood going? Anything interesting happening in our Robinhood land? It's such a small piece of the pie now, but it doesn't make it any
I
less
know, because I
interesting.
don't pay that much attention to it. It's like I kind of just set and forget each day.
Nice, but that's good. That's the system we wanted, right? Now it's more, but you're not reviewing and seeing where it is either, are you?
Well, I
You
do
are
read
setting and
where it is,
forgetting.
but it's like it's funny. It's just like, you know, we are the result of whatever happens at that point. There is no me playing the game. It's like the set and forget is set and see what happens. Well, a fair amount of times, because of the way I'm looking at stocks for day trading, I'm seeing ones just stand out that have a good potential spike. Well, okay, so I buy in, it spiked that day. The next day it drops back down to where it was, maybe even lower or maybe a little above. But it's like we never caught the windfall from it, and now we're just sitting on a stock that's not moving. So we have a bunch of stocks that aren't moving, some options that are doing all right, and fucking yeah, I think we're up like 200 overall on the account, down 250-ish from the last time we really discussed it. Yeah, I had bought in. So I bought into Carnival Cruise on 4 different option plays.
Oh, wow.
One of them that expired in a week, one that expired in 2 weeks. Somehow, I mean, I say somehow, fucking obviously the button was clicked wrong. Fucking, you have 4 different columns you're choosing when you're building like multi-leg options in Robinhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I must have set it as a sell instead of a buy, which was fucking retarded. So anyways, it went the opposite way. I mean, I planned it to go fucking up, and, you know, but I sold it as if I planned it to go down. So when it went up, we were negative $280 on that one, and then positive like 230 or 240 on the other one. So, and it was still going up. And the one that the one that was costing us money was making a little bit bigger of a difference, which was making us lose more and more gradually as it went. So I ended up selling them out for both of them at the same time to basically wash one with the other. And yeah, took the like $50 loss or whatever on that one, which was fucking booty. One of them was some insider trading I bought on, which hasn't panned out yet, but we'll see what the fuck happens. So it's kind of an odd one. You've got a vaccine or type company creating vaccines, and the owner of the company bought like 20% share size of the company.
We've talked about this, yes.
Then the building next door that builds like pipettes or something for medical testing and shit, that company bought 20% of the shares of the company too. So it was like 40% of the shares of the company were bought over like 3 nights between the owner of the company and the neighbor. So it was like, like they know something. So I fucking bought into that one pretty deep, and it hasn't gone nowhere yet. You know, it's gone down like 5 cents, but I mean, it's not dick, but you know, I mean, it's basically not done nothing. And so we're sitting on that one pretty deep. Aerial drone surveillance drones, because of this whole pandemic, they're starting to kick those out more and more. So I bought us decently heavy into that one, which it did spike one day, but I wasn't paying active attention. So it came back down to basically where it was. And that's where it's at now. What was the other one? Bought deep into an Indian bank that is going to be the first one to support like Bitcoin based apps and a bunch of different like apps they're integrating with. So when that goes live, that should spike up pretty good. I actually got fucked up in that one though. So the news broke that they were going to do it, and this shit shot up to $3 or something. So it was sitting at 98 cents, shot up to $3, came back down to $1.50. The indicators showed it was going to start going higher. So I grabbed this pretty deep in at 150, hoping it'd catch up, you know, go back up to maybe 250. And of course it dropped back down to $1. So we're sitting 50-cent share short on like 200 shares with that company. So we're down like, yeah, 300 something dollars on that one. But I mean, I didn't sell out. It's just riding until it does something.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
we're very fluid right now in there. I say fluid. We're very active in the market right now in the Robinhood account. And we're probably, like I said, like 210, something like that, over the 1555 or like 1770. So
Cool. That's interesting. That's hilarious.
yeah, that's been a funny one.
Wow, bro. So a lot's definitely happening with that. It's so over the next, well, I mean, this is the last week of, where are we? Just looking at the calendar real quick. Yeah, I mean, the first is Monday's the 31st. It'll be the second next Wednesday. Saturday's the 29th. Yeah, we'll be in September a week from now. So
Nice.
we'll be curious to see where we start how September goes. It's good to be out of August. I think summer's finally over.
It'll be cool too to see after this week how the stock market works. The changes should disrupt a lot of auto processors and automated systems, probably for at least a day or two. So I'm just curious what the market's going to do on Monday, Tuesday when you don't have those weird anomalies happening where things buy and sell all of a sudden. It's like fucking stock just changes price, like you could watch it move and then all of a sudden it's like something happens and then you're like $1.50 from where you were or $1 from where you were, and it's one of those kicking in.
So what are they actually doing, and how is it what are the possible effects it'll have in the short term?
Well, like you've got a buy or a sell in their system set at a whatever trigger price, but their buy or sell might be 250,000 shares. So when that sells, they might have the limit set to 225 and the stop set to 250. So the second it hits 250, it will start selling and sell it all the way till it hits down to 225. Then their system quits selling and lets it build back up and will sell it back down again. Some of them, though, don't put in a floor. So if they triggered it to start selling at 250 and they have 250,000 shares, it might sell the price all the way down to like $1.20. So their end sellout was averaged at like 175 because they initiated at 230 or something and it ended at $1.20. So that's kind of how those work. So sometimes especially with the low float, which is a lot of times where I'm at, you think low float and they just dumped 100,000 shares. I mean, that's a tenth of the entire market cap. So when that shit changes, like, you can watch a stock just fucking, either A, tank, or the neat one I've been seeing on Apple sometimes is the buy up, like their triggers are set. Oh, if you see it breach, like let's say 495 and have crossed it by making 10% change, then buy in because they think they're buying in on like an upward swoop. And you'll see that thing hit like 495.05 and all of a sudden you're at like 495.70 because their fucking auto processor kicked in and just bought it that whole way up.
And how is the revamp going to affect all that auto processing?
How does the what? Sorry, I didn't.
How is the revamp going to affect all that auto processing?
So what it seems like it's going to do, like I haven't dug completely into the maths that are happening, but they need to readjust things like market cap and things because you have companies like Microsoft. Microsoft is now the biggest company in the world on paper. So because of that, they've done split after split after split after split. So, I mean, in the beginning, if you own one share, you're at like 250 shares now, like it's something crazy. So with all of those type of adjustments that have happened in the past, it has adjusted companies, basically to where they needed to be. Jumps are happening so big now and companies are making such increases that those filings and everything and the length of time it takes and all that isn't keeping up with the demand of the market. So now you have shares that are crazy high priced and there's, way too many out there, it seems like, for the market to be able to handle mathematically. So it's offsetting things like the S&P 500, because that's taking the 500 best of the sectors and averaging those. But when you have a couple superstars that can, Microsoft can in one day support 10% of the S&P. So if it just has a bad day, now the entirety of the S&P had a bad day, when the entirety of the S&P 499 could have done great, but Microsoft offset them. So they need to fix that.
Thank you. That's a good
what's happening
example.
during this week and goes live Monday.
And any kind of systematic change like that has the chance of affecting the APIs. And if that's affected,
affecting APIs, offing the math a little bit, you know, and
you now need to update your software.
But you've got a lot of companies who are going to be afraid. You know, if you've got millions of dollars that could fuck up because
millions, dude,
math isn't right based on a market.
Hundreds of millions to trillions, institutional money.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be probably a 2 or 3 day playground with no auto processors kicking in, or false triggers on auto processors for the guys that didn't do anything that might have them buying in bad or selling out bad or whatever. So it'll be just interesting. I'm going to be definitely playing it safe Monday, Tuesday, and just see what happens. If it seems like no difference, then cool. But I mean, if it seems like things are oddly popping off, that's what's going to be happening.
That's interesting. Dude, I can't wait to see where we are 4 weeks from now. I still see myself probably putting at least on average 1 day a week in with Sean. I actually do want to help him get the part. Like, all his money's locked up in those projects. It would be nice for him to get them done. Like, to help someone to where he's like 10 feet from the finish line, and then like, all right, figure it out. Seems weird as well. But at the same point, I'm running on fumes. Like, that's why I was having much sweet. I think that's also the catch. Like, man, now that I don't have to think about it for 30 days, it also makes me want to help him more. So it's like a weird catch-22. I'm like, sweet, now I don't have to think about it. Yeah, now I kind of want to go help him out. Like, that was not the plan. Is to do one so that you don't have to do the other.
Well, that's the funny thing too. It's like when you get paid, even if it's not the full payment or whatever, it's like you see, you know,
triggers reciprocity still.
The doing, and then doing, you know, the next day isn't shit. You know, while you're doing it, of course, none of that's gonna be fun. But the next day, the fuck cares? It's done. You know, like, it's just a check mark. So to be able to see, the other side of it, even if it's not the full amount, I'm sure is like kicking that into, oh, okay, put in, get out. You know.
Very, 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 very much so. But it's just like, well, it's nice because I think it'll never be more than 2 days a week. It's very chaotic, man. I'm too chaotic to not have a very structured lifestyle. Like, so until my business is actually dealing with people on my terms and me not dealing with them on them terms, it makes it very difficult.
Well, I said that's still gonna be coming hopefully here shortly. I think I've got the stock thing figured out now. It's just slowly but surely building that up to give it a little, you know, a solid cushion, and then figure out some, you know, how I'm going to work it. I mean, obviously, you know, we can blanketly say, oh, just increase share size, but not all trades am I comfortable jumping in on a double share size. You know, some of them now you'll see, you know, like when the triggers line up perfectly, we're jumping in with 200. Like I'm seeing that when I'm confident with all triggers, plus it just seems right, it's like they're going right. So those ones get the 200 jump in. If it's just triggers line up, cool, that gets the normal 100. And if I'm trying to test something, that's getting like 10 or 25 just so I can figure it out.
It would be hard to not see having a VA working for us, a VA, in case you weren't, specifically for us. Honestly, February. Like it's like the random winter cost. Like December will have a fee and it'll have a tax in January. But I mean, you're going to figure out this step by step. Dude, and real estate's also kicking off. So there's we've got both drips and buckets, and it's like only more as less of your bandwidth is being taken up on this real estate stuff. It'll be great because that's when it'll really set me off to like find the next person. Like, I think that'll really be the trigger because there's a small apprehension of like, I could probably get a bunch of people sparkling and get them pushed over to you, but you're kind of tapped right now. It would be kind of rude to do that to you. You're in a very building and patterning things. And we don't have enough raw resources to outsource them on our own. Like, we don't have a running capital of like, yeah, cool, Tristan, I can just shift this to people. Like, I've got all these systems, I've just been doing them. But I don't think it's hard for us to live on, figure out that, like, I never think about like the big chunks of change because I know those will happen, but I think 50% of that will kind of get blown on like solving levels of the game. Like, oh, we need to just check this box. Okay, cool. Now we don't have to think about that anymore. like dumb
Yeah,
shit,
exactly.
like
Like house
passports and bankruptcy.
things too. Yeah, exactly. 100%. There's
Yeah,
different things that can
yeah.
get.
Not necessarily fun things like yeah, want to live the van lifestyle. Definitely want to check the van box off. But I think I mean over the next year it seems like, dude, I think we could pretty easily live off of $1,000 to $1,200 a month, knowing that we're getting those bigger drips in, so that way we can really make a big move to change the the income. Like, let's go from 1,000 to 3,000, and how much of it comes from businesses versus daily stock trading? How much of that daily stock trading just becomes like, oh, now it's just kind of cheddar? But yeah, it seems like you're figuring it out. Like the second we actually have enough like money in the coffers to where we can have like, oh sweet, we have an account that we can actually pay people for the next year to do stuff that we need to get done but that we don't want to do. Like I don't not see how by six into the summer of next year, where we're not honestly at that spot if we don't blow those large chunks of money, and if we just like, all right, let's stack, because like we'd want to know we'd have that money to pay them for 6 months before we had someone on board, because we're not trying to go backwards, and we need to know that we can confidently like, oh sweet, no, it's all there, go do it up. Like, especially for you, because it just means you can like geek out on whatever the fuck you want until I find a better opportunity for you. Like at its core, it's like, dude, I just need you bored and me confident. Like that's super easy. That's a PA and monthly bills paid, and you fucking go play Eve, or don't play Eve. It'll distract me. I have shit to do. I stay very good.
I'm not jumping in that one until it's time. I fucked up once and jumped in and wasn't able to keep playing. So
Yeah, it's a deep pool, man. Too. It's a deep pool, obviously. To the point where I'm like, I think I'm okay not figuring out how to make money in that game. I think I'm okay just buying living through Plex to buy my ships until I figure out what I'll do passively.
Dude, I'll just buy their stocks now and there.
I bet that would be the place where you'd want to play the market, like, because it would be real enough to learn patterns.
Oh yeah, well I mean exactly. I mean it's not hypothetical when I'm losing our game money or getting us better ships or something.
Yeah, no, it's very real.
Yeah.
And you saw I did a bunch of day trade. Like all I did was day trade on that. Like buy low, sell high. but it was a manual inventory, and actually weak holds. I was willing to buy and sell. I knew that it would bounce. You could see it clearly bounces. Or L2, dude. I've always done all my markets ideas on L2. I never knew that that's what it's called. I'm like, I mean, obviously there are people here and here. It's just time. Time is the only thing that's not letting this happen. It clearly hits this often enough.
Librarians, we're straight pimping books, like knowledge books, those upgrade books or whatever. Those shits were fucking money. You had to go deep into dangerous territory or fucking go pay premium. I mean, we were grabbing them at 10K and selling them for 50 to 250 all day.
And we know in the physical product marketplace, there are those gaps in that market too. Just like, but again, I don't know. It seems like if real estate can pull in large enough chunks to fucking solve the bigger issues, getting your kids, like all those like weird, like that's what real estate is. It's like it's large chunks. It doesn't tend to be dripping. If that can kind of cover those weird things, and then it's like, all right, income through fucking trading. It's like, sweet. Now let's actually.
Oh, dude, I forgot to mention this shit. Yeah, so last night I got a call from the fucking inspector general. So I'm like,
of where? Or is that of where? Is that? I don't necessarily know his direct positioning off the top of my head.
It's Inspector General of Massachusetts.
Okay.
So I'm like, fuck. So it's like, of course I didn't answer last night. I didn't recognize the number, but the voicemail was like, yeah, this is the Inspector General's office calling. We need to speak with Dustin Giordani. You need to return the call. I'm like, fuck me. So I called him back and shit. I'm part of a federal investigation, but I'm the victim. So.
What are you the victim of? I mean, don't get me wrong. That's a long list. Currently, what are you the victim of?
Somebody identity frauded me and is getting unemployment in Massachusetts with my shit.
You couldn't get unemployment in Massachusetts with your shit.
Dude, that's why my unemployment's held up out here. It's because of that bullshit. So yeah, dude, I'm backdated like 20 weeks of unemployment right now. Like they're gonna cut me like a $12,000 check when this shit's said and done.
Subtract 40% because government gotta get paid, bro.
Oh yeah. Oh well, child support. Yeah, they're gonna. Yeah,
sweet. You're just gonna break even at zero.
So I'm gonna see. I should see like 50% of it, but either which way. So I'm like, okay, and then she's just like, do you recognize this company name? And I'm like, no. And she's like, do you recognize this name? And it's Alan Scott.
Why does
I'm
that name
like,
sound familiar?
he's the dude that fucking I was in jail with, that fucking sent me those books and had me forward them to that lawyer, and then the feds came to my house and raided me. That's that dude. So that dude's ID frauding me.
Man, you gotta don't hate the player, hate the game, or don't hate the whatever it is. Like, I got no ill intent against that guy, but that's fucking hilarious.
Like, damn, was digging deep through the fucking black book of names and shit.
Keep playing. How do you find himself in Massachusetts? That's hilarious.
I was gonna say, yeah, he must have got out of jail finally on all that tax fraud shit and fucking went right out and just swooped up. She said it appears that he's filed 177 claims in different names, and
It's a numbers game. Hell yeah.
100%. Yo, his tax game was legit. Like, yo, that's how so it only costs like, I think it was like $80 to be a tax auto processor, to basically be a local location-based TurboTax. So he went out and bought like 10 licenses, and then he did people's legit file or tax returns, but he would file it on all 10 systems at once, because if they came in at different times, it would see it and reject it. If it came in all as one in one packet, it would accept them all. So he'd get paid like 9 times on their taxes, and they'd get paid once, and he legitly paid them. And dude, this dude had like, there was like 5,000 or 6,000 people in his system that he had caught 9 times their tax refund.
That's impressive.
Yeah, he was gangster with it. Like, he knew his ins and outs with the system.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, bro.
But yeah, he got me. So all my shit's locked up, I guess, for right now. Like, as far as my finance or that end of my financials, my taxes and all that kind of stuff, till they sort it out. But
savings account accruing interest, bro.
yeah, right now, I mean, I'm just racking up unemployment every week. I just file this dumb shit. I've got no paper trail of real money, so they can't hit me for fraud or nothing. So,
Dude, that's perfect.
hell yeah.
See?
Last time I got paid on any houses was like February, and I didn't file till March. So,
See, I mean, you could like I mean, you must be able to see the position that we're in, as long as we don't do anything reckless. Really, as long as we don't burn anything down, Dustin. I didn't know that term before I knew you. Fun fact. Burn it down. I'm not. There's no accusation. There's no weight to that statement. I just want to give you 2 very separate facts in a very small period of time. Yeah, just I love it.
Talking about like burning bridges was a bad thing.
Yeah. So,
Well, dude, I'm fire the second I step off.
Which is funny, because you don't burn any of the bridges that I that I set afire by mistake, that I sparked all over. It's dude. I mean, and who knows when Michael will hit you up? That might actually be a real opportunity if he's even. I can't judge his honesty versus dishonesty, but I know he likes to paint a picture. So who knows how bright his ink is versus what's true, which sucks. I hate when I'm in that spot because it's hard for me to. I need to assume that you're telling the truth, and if you're wrong, it's because you're inaccurate about your truth, not because you're telling me inaccuracies. You know.
Yeah, the first thing that hit me is, how bad are you doing to where you're digging that deep into your Rolodex to reach out to me?
Really, dude? You're so shiny and sparkling, but people can't fully understand why, which is a mystique that people seem to want even more. Luke called you. Luke never stopped. Luke stopped talking with you for like a week or 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, that's just me looking at it my way or whatever. It just, like, I don't know. I haven't talked to somebody for 6 or 8 months. I'll probably never talk to them again unless they call me. So to have somebody, go 6 or 8 months and contact me, it's like, I don't know. It just seems weird.
Yeah.
Like,
very novel.
It never seems like it's coming from the good, the good intent. It seems like it's coming from, I don't want to say negative intent, but, it's positive for him.
That was all, that all changed now. Go on, finish that last sentence.
They're just basically, digging through his Rolodex, sees me, is like, I wonder if this guy can save me or dig me out of this pit. Like that kind of.
Oh, and you are a bit of you do kind of have that special ability, so I could see that being the trigger. That's it's interesting. The problem is, like, right now, again, we don't even have a PA, so you're too busy to even try to like follow up with it, like, or even to a point like, hey, Tristan, I'm not going to remember to follow up with Michael, but you should probably remind me in a couple months to hit him up, because there might be an opportunity there. So that way you never think about it, and I won't forget about it. But yeah, like, dude, it does suck how busy you are for the current outcomes. But it seems like it's all going towards a tipping point.
Well, I mean, normally, at least when we're building foundation, that was it. We built a good ass foundation, then we moved on and built another foundation. So at least this one seems to be, here and there producing based on the foundation with the potential of, actually filling in and building in. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, today's good.
Today's good.
I think already 3 hot ones came in, so.
So nice. Just numbers.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh yeah. So yeah, yesterday and the day before is both dud out days. I think one came in that was just yeah, and it's like, oh man, I hope we're not starting a trend. And then today, yeah, that thing has been blowing up, so that's good.
Yeah, we really need to figure out what are all the actual positions we need, so we wouldn't have to do anything other than finance the funding of the marketing. Like really, it ends up being really needing a closer because everything else is VA-able. And then like, well, how much do we need to start that venture? What is these like? It's going to take us 6 months to turn fully green, and what's the or like whatever that trajectory is,
Yeah, well, I mean, I know a big part is like you mentioned earlier, is just having the budget set aside to know, especially like when trying to, I don't want to say replace me, but put someone in the position that I normally hold with like the real estate thing. That's like a fair amount of training or teaching, passing of comprehension. So that will be, knowing damn well that's probably going to be, 30 to 45 days of, not being worth, I don't want to say not worth the money, but not producing anything to make value.
Mm-hmm.
So, but once we get that person in place, it's going to, I think, be golden. Because once I get them to, comprehend what we're trying to do, the way we're trying to do it, and then, be able to just pass simple commands and he can filter it through what they know, then it's like, okay.
And that will not be difficult.
Nope, just take a little bit of time and have the budget available to maintain through that time.
Dude, the one position we've never been able to actually get ourselves to comfortably is a position with a legitimate labor budget prior to, where we had actual either subcontractors or employees. It's always on a hustle or exchange or a barter, rather than like, look, this is what this it is a value exchange in that way, and then build a relationship above and beyond that. And that's like, dude, it's not hard to interview a bunch of people, find a person who clicks right, and then have that person do that job and be happy for it. Yeah, maybe it's 20% of our labor cost. It's like 90% of the work. The closer's a salesman. It's always going to be the same process for finding them. It's just finding someone that we like or that likes us, or one that's not easily manipulatable, but easy to please, as at a core.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't want someone who's high maintenance.
Like I just want to kill these, any hot ones, I'll kill them.
Mm-hmm.
And I want 20% or something. Then it's like, mm-hmm. Boom, all day.
Yeah, I'll take an exclusive mercenary relationship too. Yeah.
Yeah, not paying you for time. Get done what you can get done. You know where the pool is. Let us know when you got it.
Yeah, all day. Yeah, and I think honestly, dude, when we have a solid marketing machine, I think it's gonna be so easy to find a successful wholesaler as a closer. Like that's the thing. Like the closer is not hard to find. It's just contacting the most successful wholesalers. And yeah, some of them.
Buyers was producing a fair amount of them too, which is kind of funny. We've got the VAs putting out posts here and there on Facebook, looking, creating buyers lists and stuff, and we'll get a fair amount of, DMs of people like, hey, blah blah blah. I was doing this with this company and they closed. Do you have any room for blah blah blah? So it's like, yeah, now it's like people are actively looking even. So
a lot of opportunity, man. Yeah, it'll be great to have budgets, bro. Like that's. The stock market is giving us the actual legitimate cash flow to have some capital. Like there's a reason everyone runs a business on debt. It's very hard to start without a fountain. Very few people are willing to dig a pool and fill it before they start, knowing that you could drain that whole pool. I mean, I've done it twice before, but that was all kind of fake money, not actually strapped in the right way. It was spending to make rather than like, all right, let's make. We've executed it before for other companies. Now let's just. We've always tried to do it ourselves.
The Amazon, it like reminds me kind of how I entered into doing the stock market is, we figured out how to do the entry point, but didn't completely master the back end, like the management section of it, which made it become too burdensome and
very difficult.
Way up,
Very bandwidth intensive. Yeah. Another one. Yeah. If we had any weekly budget for fucking part timers, all of those simple things, it would have been worth building the process, and then just a paying relationship, not a help or look what you're building. Just like, do you want a job? Like, no, cool. It's fine. There's probably someone who does, especially if you're paid daily, or like how does the pay need to be to where the money matters less and the method matters more. That's the one thing. I mean, sure, you learn about real estate more than anything. It's like the final price is one of many variables. There's so many other things going on.
Exactly. Yes.
Or,
I know one right now is dude wants to maintain mineral rights to the property.
oh, I can
He's willing to take like 40% of Zillow, but he wants mineral rights. So we're trying to figure out how to make that work.
That's great. Yeah. That's I love that idea. No, and I think maybe it's funny. It's like I think we're probably getting a large chunk of random capital. I think a flip is going to go through there, where it's either a 4-unit that we want to keep, it's a cash flow play, or we just find like a random flip that we decide we like it enough, dude. The capital he uses, you could just as easily use. Like, oh, and by the way, there's a lot of capital out there that you don't even need to physically use his, but it ends up just being very simple. Like, oh, if this deal doesn't fit our criteria, I think it's fun, and then it's just actually do the fix and flip and stack, and who knows.
Well, that's just it. Yeah. I mean, dude, all we'd have to do is get one project under the belt where we, was like a 20,000 come up in the end or something like that. We can manage it and run it. I've done all that. You've done half it now too. So.
And I definitely know all the project steps in very good order. Like how a project for a very deep one goes super easy, and as it gets more shallow, it just does get.
Well, we'd be gangster at that process. After the acquisition to the point of sale, we've got that all day. So.
The only thing I wouldn't be very good at is actually fucking managing the people or getting them in there. But you seem to be way better at managing people because you don't trigger them. You don't like to do it, and by that I mean like it's not whether it's taxing. It's not pleasant. You're very good at it. It's in your aptitude, but it's not in your enjoyment level. Like you'd much rather be playing a game.
It's funny, exactly. It's one of those necessities. I don't want to do it. That's rule number one. So we've got to get past that one. Okay, so I don't like dealing with people. Well, let's revert back to rule number one. I don't want to do it. So it's that.
And the most important rule is clearly Tristan is incapable of doing it. There's only proof. Like even if he does it pretty good over the long term, it's not going to work. There will be a problem.
Who the hell out of us agreed that you're going to do it? Like that's
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a bunch of weight I put on myself for no apparent reason.
Hey, if anything, it's not you, it's him fucking jumping out there. So
you can do it. Well, why you volunteering me, bro? We're not going to
places too where I shouldn't be. So it's like, nope, that's who he wants to, but no.
If we're learning anything, we need to learn our time and place and where it needs to be. That's I mean, I'm hoping I'm hoping if we just build some really solid relationships throughout the rest of this year, just random businesses or people in positions where our specific set of skills can be put into gig work, a 60-day project. I had no long-term contracts, just kind of meeting the people I know. Like, dude, we do process improvement and we do VA outsourcing. A lot of mundane parts of your job could be easily outsourced. We built that, hire them, train them, and then get it back off. It's all pretty boring.
What's he called right now? What are we? SMD or
SSD? We lost SMD, which made me sad for no time at all. It was more like but SSD.
Okay.
And if you go to the webpage, it's black and gold. It says, we're very busy. Don't bother us unless you're serious. Enter your email. We're too busy to even have a fucking a working website. Webpage under construction. Don't even want, like right now, it doesn't, until I'm actually trying to actively, right now I'm not trying to actively sell, so I don't need a business card.
I'm just thinking though, there's a potential for money coming in right now that's unchecked and unregulated, and we might have potential if you wanted to dive into it. I obviously don't have too much time, but
we just talked about your bandwidth available. Yeah,
they are starting to set up government-funded like safety agencies to maintain or make sure that people are following safety protocol. If we positioned
NARCs.
With that.
NARCs?
Oh yeah, straight up. So if we positioned ourselves as a company, like a success strategy designed for preparedness, and get them ready for said checks and that kind of stuff, is basically, there's that level of that. and it comes with big government money. It seems because so many people are trying to scramble and become that or do those things or whatever, it's very loose right now. So basically have the LLC and a proposal. So if we wanted to think about potentially doing something like that under that name, and then, you know, helping, you know, companies set up safety protocols, you know,
They just need a bunch of
successfully design
documentation.
safety protocols. What's that?
They just need a bunch of paperwork in place showing that they, like, you know, like how chemicals are treated. They just need to show that they have a plan.
Set them up with vendors so that they can purchase reoccurring, like rubbing alcohol and the hand sanitizer, the gloves, the masks, that kind of stuff, and systems so where they see inventories low, buy up, things like that.
So it sounds like let's analogize it to the electrical company who is locking in lower bids. It sounds like the government's funding the actual creation of the protocol, or the government's going to start finding people who don't have it. Because at first it sounds like, oh, we need to figure out how the government pays them to have that stuff set. Like, are they funding the process of the safety stuff, or is it just?
So, okay, they are funding it in some scenarios, but the current state of what's happening is many states are putting into process or have already signed into law that they will have basically narcs walking around and busting people.
Mm-hmm.
Some states have taken it as far as any establishment with more than, like, you know, X amount of people has to have a safety monitor on premises, a paid safety monitor on premises.
I've seen these random people. I was wondering what's happening. Okay. That's crazy. You're making businesses more expensive, you piece of shit.
Yeah, and reducing their total count by like 50% or more. But anyways, those are required in some states. But some states, basically, you need to meet all these safety protocols, but nobody's going to be there. You know, no one's going to come around. They're going to come and bust you if you haven't. So preparing them so that should they be safety audited, they would be good to go. And in the states where the government is or the state is requiring it, they're pushing it, I believe, under the Federal CARES Act, where they're getting reimbursement to pay for said individual to be there. So you, at that point, yes, would be receiving government funding. I don't know what level you guys are at. We're at the level now where we just enacted the NARC thing, and they're hitting people with, you know, the lowest fine I've heard is like $5,000. Like on average, it's like 8,500 to 18,000.
So just so I can build the structure up real quickly and make sure I've got all the nodes. It seems like we would have to know, based on state and based on industry within state, what their protocol is. So we'd have to have that knowledge, or at least know where to readily access that knowledge. And then we would need to set them up. I mean, let them know what the actual law is, so in case they don't know.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I would say we would subsegment down to just restaurant industry, because you got to think there are going to be, like, a lot of them are going to be the mom and pops that are going to be willing to pay $100 or $200 to avoid getting slapped with something that could devastate the business, you know?
Yeah.
And know damn well they couldn't afford that safety auditor, you know, because, you know, government shit works. You're probably going to pay that fool for 3 months before you see some kind of check.
We would want to see the fine schedule for whatever the safety audit is.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, for the restaurant business, they know they're getting slammed. They're trying like hell to stay open. So they seem like they'd be a good opportunity to get in there, you know, set them up with a safety audit, cost them like $100 to $250, and basically, to the letter of the law, make sure that they are, you know, compliant and good to go. So the only thing that could fuck them at that point is if somebody walked in and nobody is wearing masks or something.
That's exciting because Travis, the not Sean, who worked at Architect with us, has still been doing his Inner Circle restaurant tour nonstop.
Dude, yeah. So he'd be a great.
Those are all small business owners.
Spokesman for us, and you know, also too is signups. Give him like 20% or something to get the people to sign up.
100%. I was thinking 10% for anyone we got through while marketing on there, and we're trying to help them. But I wouldn't really care if it was 20, obviously. It's weird when I pull 10 versus 20. Hey, you don't have to do anything. If you're just milking your audience, 10%. I'm grading everything. If you're actively promoting, if you're doing the promotion, 20 to 30%, bro. Like, yeah, it's a sliding scale.
Yeah, 100%.
That would be. It seems like it's a lot of research. more than anything, like the bulk of the work that needs to be done.
Well, okay, so I mean, there is going to be research up front, but then we get to take that same research and stamp and stamp and stamp and
Oh,
stamp.
yeah.
And stamp. So
Yes, like
there is
we've got to
upfront.
research to find out what it is, and then maybe we've got to build a protocol probably once against that, and then see how well it actually applies to the first restaurant that hires us, or we don't build it to the first one hires us, and see how hard it is to take said protocols and build it into protocols for them. I know, I love the idea. I wonder how much of a distraction is it just to get no clients. It's like, ooh, it is a really good idea, but
Well, I think like we kind of just said though, if we get the basis down, at least have an idea of what we would need to do, and then have what's his face start, pushing it. And if one comes through, damn well we're going to scramble and make it. But even on the first one, if it's a decent one, it's $1,000, you might just drive out there or come pick me up or something, so we have one under the belt so we can see what we're doing and then build
very true.
The process from there.
Yeah, it's very, very true. All right, man. We have a lot going on. It's weird on Wednesday and Saturday. Not much can happen on Thursday and Friday. So there's very rarely any kind of crazy things in regards to what can happen on Saturday. I realize that. I'm just gonna meditate on that and figure out.
Yeah, like major stock wins, but that's about it.
Yeah. So I'll start meditating on what a good format would be for Saturday. Maybe the Saturday is where we get eclectic and we get deep more into the philosophy aspect and we get more into the actual shooting the shit rather than the work stuff. It doesn't always have to be work. It's not just about money. It's also about mind and metabolism and overall just improvement. But right now, trying to get the independently wealthy or financial independence, depending on whichever word triggers better, that seems to be the primary goal.
Well, exactly. It's not that the end of the world to have 3 ventures going on at the same time to figure out which one's going to take us there or take us closer to get us to the place we need to be to get there. So,
yeah. All right, my man. I can't wait to see how the rest of this week goes. It'll be cool. Don't only make the changes that you're currently thinking about, and dude, if you think it's going to go up, you ride it, and let's get a payout because it seems like it's going to be a computer for you. It seems like no matter what your next check is, whether it's REI related or whether it's day trading related, it sounds like it's going to be PC, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, first step I want to do is that internet upgrade. And then the second step would be, the actual system. But the internet seems to be the key right now. It's just that lag because the computer can keep up any other time with multiple equations going on and everything else. It's just during that volatility ramp up, which is, it's funny. We're chasing the thing that fucks me up. It's a good thing when that happens. It's just that I can't save us if the bad happens out of that, and 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5, that's not bad. But that one critical fall through can be, as I saw Tuesday again, it could be the account if shit went wrong. Yeah. The technical showed it shouldn't have gone wrong, and it didn't end up going wrong. But how life goes, shit can happen.
Dude, it's chaos and order trying to find an equilibrium.
Exactly.